Hello everyone. So today we'll be discussing about the various types of errors that are encountered in a C++ program. Now you might have often worked with some programming language or the other and you often find errors. Now these errors are the fault or problem that occur in a program and it makes the program behave abnormally, or in fact the program does not execute at all. So it is very important to remove these errors because errors are always experienced even by a beginner or a novice, or in fact a pro in this particular programming can encounter errors in some way or the other. So we shall be first discussing about the various errors that can be encountered while making programs, and specifically C++ programs. So the first type of error that I'm going to discuss is the syntax error. And this syntax error, as the name suggests, is something to deal with the syntax of the code. Now it occurs due to invalid syntax. That is, while typing your code, you write something that has some name of the some keyword that is not being valid keyword, or something that has to relate with some value that has been uninitialized and you are printing its value, or there is some type incompatibility between the various variable and it's the value, that is, if you are declared it int and you are assigning it to be a character value. So you often find such errors that the compiler says, and these are often encountered by solved with the help of a compiler, because compiler encounters these errors, and therefore they are also known as compile time errors because they are detected by the compiler. Now some common errors that can be encountered are missing of semicolons. This is often, now while you miss a semicolon, that statement or the line number is the next line number. So make sure that when you encounter such error, you do see the line above and line below that particular line number error, so that you can understand on which line number, as the compiler indicates the line number of that error also. So accessing of undeclared variables, functions or arrays. So other types are wrong number of arguments passed to the function, like you have declared a two parameter function and you are passing three different values, or the values do not match in data type. So these mismatch in braces. So these common errors which you often are detected by the compiler, because compiler can detect it, because it happens by why it is able to detect it, because the compiler cannot translate the source code into object code unless these are removed. So it's very important to remove these errors, and in VS Code you specifically get special highlighting lines. They are highlighted by some lines to indicate that there are errors. If you've seen the previous videos, you were seeing that when we didn't install MinJW, it was showing that what is IOStream by red underline. So this is a type of syntax error, and the compiler issues an error message for that every syntax errors, so that programmer can identify them and fix them. Next is the type of error that we are talking about is a linker error, and that occurs at the time of linking of object files. Now these particular when these type of errors while linking. Now what happens actually while linking all the object file, the linker replaces all references to the undefined symbols with the correct addresses, and if this address resolution or matching is not translated to the correct version, then it will be problem for the linker, and therefore it may be due to duplicate or missing definitions, that is linker could not find out to which particular function or whatever definition that is appearing it is matching to. So in that regard it will indicate that this that particular linker error. So we should always ensure that there are no duplicates or missing definition, like you have created a function and you have created another function with the same name in the same scope of the program. So you can think about what will happen, that if a compiler is given a function call, it will be no doubt we are having function overloading concept, but it is assumed that if you are having everything same, then it compiler can say that it is not a correct resolution to the appropriate definition. So the such type of errors have to be avoided. The next category is runtime errors. Now these are very important ones, because when you run, they are only detected until you run. So when you type your code, your compiler passes this particular code and then you get these errors. So these are the errors that occur during the program execution, after the successful compilation, that is a compilation, compiler does not trouble you. It doesn't say that it's wrong, but only after that you have compiled the code, compiler ने compile कर दिया code, अब उसके बाद जब error आ रही है, क्योंकि कब आ रही है वो भी जब आप run कर रहे हो, इसमें प्रोग्राम क्या करेगा, कोई एक्शन ही नहीं परफॉर्म करेगा, हैंग भी कर सकता है। जैसे ये कब होता है, जब आप डिवाइड बाय जीरो करते हैं किसी नंबर को, अब डिवाइड बाय जीरो का तो कोई आंसर ही नहीं आ सकता, तो उस केस में ये टाइप ऑफ एरर स्क्वायर रूट ऑफ अ नेगेटिव नंबर लेते हैं या असाइन करते हैं एक एरे को एक वैल्यू जो कि आउट ऑफ रेंज है, या एक नंबर को भी आप वैल्यू आउट ऑफ रेंज भी असाइन कर सकते हैं। एरे इंडेक्स का जो इंडेक्स है वो आउट ऑफ बाउंड हो सकता है। और तो और आपने अगर यू हैव क्रिएटेड अ हीप, you have used the heap memory because you are allocating the memory to the variables dynamically. In that regard, जब भी आप उसको मेमोरी देते हैं, ठीक है, और वो मेमोरी आपने फ्री नहीं की, तो क्या होगा कि अगर एक हैकर होगा वो पहले ऐसा कुछ करेगा कि आपकी सारी मेमोरी एलोकेट करवा देगा, और अगर वो सारी मेमोरी एलोकेट करा देगा और आपने उसको फ्री करने का ऑप्शन ही दी, तो आपका सिस्टम हैंग कर जाएगा। तो इसको हम कहते हैं मेमोरी लीक, और इसको हमें अवॉइड करना चाहिए। फिर ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि लूप एग्जीक्यूट कर रही है इनफाइनाइटली, तो ये भी एक प्रॉपर एरर है, और ये भी एक हमारा रीजन हो सकता है कि जिस करके हम कह सकते हैं कि हमारी लॉजिकल सॉरी रन टाइम एरर आ रही है। सो नेक्स्ट इज logical errors. Now these are very difficult to track because compiler has gone and compiler has detected no errors. In fact, the program is running, but it is not producing the expected output. So what is the such type of, when there is a logic? Now you create a program and these are logic, your logics are being explained through a set of statements. So your program is not executing or produce the expected result due to incorrect logic. Like you have put a semicolon after the for statement and you are making that my loop is not working. When you have put a for I is equal to 0 and you're putting this particular conditions, three expressions in the for loop, and then after you're putting a semicolon, now it will not work. So in that case it is very important you avoid this thing. Then if in the if part you have written something, say y is equal to 0, but it should be double equal to 0, so this is also an error, it should be avoided. Then you have to execute only specific numbers. Let us say, let it be, you have to execute 9 numbers but you are expecting to 10, then in the loop less than condition you are not equal putting equal to condition. So these are some of the logics that are that you want to execute a loop 10 times but you are executing it 9 times because you're not putting an equal to for that. So that is something that should be avoided, and it can only be avoided by various techniques, but debugging is the best technique that you should remove these errors, logical errors. Now, hit and trial method, normally for smaller programs it works, but in case of larger programs you have debuggers, and debuggers assist you in debugging. You can add watches, you can add breakpoints so that you can check which particular section of code is executing and which is not executing. Then you can step through the code, add, use track trace. This is again a feature you can use to detect errors. So these are some of the common errors, and you should always avoid errors to make your program run successfully.